And I'll bring the meeting to order. It's September 12th at 7:31. In the room with us today is William Lloyd and Nathan Lockwood. Richard McGrath is joining us by cell phone. He's on the speaker. And he will be hopefully joining us after his journey from Boston. He's en route. I don't think we have any public comment. I know we don't have anybody online with us, at least wise not that I see. We just have the one participant, which is me. Let's start with minutes approval. I just passed that to Nathan and William, Richard, the 9 May 2024 meeting minutes. Unfortunately, William Lloyd had problems with his computer, so we don't have the 8 August meeting minutes, and hopefully at our meeting in October, we'll be able to get those. I'm just going to pause for a moment to let William and Nathan take a look at the meeting. I brought hard copies since I didn't have a chance to email these to everybody. And while they're reading, I'm going to just jump ahead to the last item on here, which is our next meeting, 10 October. I'm going to be in Seattle on 10 October. So I'm going to suggest we just do a Zoom only meeting. And I think that'll work for everybody. But don't come to the Ritter building on the 10th of October, because there won't be any way of getting in since I have the key and I will not be here. So, all right. So is there a motion to approve the 9 May meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Okay, so Williams moved. I hear a second.
Second.
Okay, Nathan, any questions or comments about the meeting minutes? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, so meeting minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is correspondence, and I wanted to give you a little rundown on conversations I had with Carter Terenzini regarding the Ritter building and town hall. And this is my correspondence with Carter started via email shortly after the August 20th select board meeting, because there was discussions at the select board meeting about obligating ARPA funds by spending, I think, $225,000. You need agenda. There's actually a couple copies there, so if you pass that one of those off and then pass one back to me. So at the select board meeting August 20th, there was a lot of discussion about obligating $225,000 of ARPA funds to pay for scoping work and preliminary design for the Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee. And when I heard that, I thought, wow, it'd be really nice if there was some way that we could use that money to make sure that we get both Town Hall and Ritter funded so that we can get the repair work done on these two projects. As you know, Town Hall went out for bids, I want to say late 2023, maybe early 2024, January timeframe, and bids were way over, the single bid was way over the amount appropriated by the town meeting from 2021. So I sent Carter a note. I said, I think it would be better to spend money on projects that are designed rather than spending money on projects that are in the scoping phase and could perhaps wait. And I said, you know, the time needed to get cost estimates revised for both of these projects, because even after Damon McQuaid presented his information to us a year ago in August for this building, for the CTA that we approved, they didn't revise the cost estimate. So we're still dealing with the same cost estimate that was generated basically in 2018. And it was the basis for the appropriations that were done at special town meeting, I believe, in 2021. Carter said, I need some time to sit down with the players and I'll get back in touch with you. So I had not heard from him. We were supposed to meet by phone yesterday. That didn't happen. I texted him today and he called me back. And he basically said that a number of capital projects that the town has are in deep trouble. He says there's not enough money to do the capital projects for things like the library, things like Ritter, things like Town Hall. He says, in my meeting with Chris Ruth, I directed him to go back and start creating, a way to get some of the work done, but probably not all of the work done for the library. And he says, and I also want to convene a meeting with, the school committee people, with the Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee to talk about the Ritter Building, because I don't want to do anything that has to get undone, with the Ritter Building. I said to Carter, I says, I think that, both Town Hall and Ritter are really exterior envelope projects. They repair roofs, gutters, paint, windows. It says, and I don't think that there will be any real interference with, the plans for the Lunenburg Municipal Building, design. And, once again, we met, and I'll update you a bit here on the design committee activity. We had our first meeting in months, on Monday, which was truncated because we lost the quorum. So the LMDC, didn't complete its business on Monday. So I says, Carter, I says, I think that you can go out for bids for some of this work and, create a bid schedule for, particularly for the Ritter Building. I think Town Hall has issues, but I think Ritter's a much more critical need for repairs to the exterior envelope. So he said that, he still wanted to have that meeting with the broader group, and I says, you can do that. I says, but once again, I says, I think, it behooves the town to move things forward for both of these projects, particularly for Ritter. The way the conversation ended was that, he says, well, tell me what you think really needs to be done on the Ritter Building and on Town Hall, kind of break it down. I said, well, I can tell you right now, for the Ritter, while it would be great to have the handicap ramp built, that is a separate project from the exterior repairs. I says, that can probably wait. I says, it's been a long time since we haven't had a handicap access ramp here. I says, and I think that that's something that could wait. I says, and then the other thing that I think could be, not on the bid schedule as a priority item are the windows. I says, except for one or two windows, particularly the window that's in the main conference room and the addition, which was built in 1965, I believe. I says, that window, needs to be replaced. I says, it's literally falling apart. I says, so that might be one of the windows. I says, but the bulk of the older windows, the ones that, were installed probably when, the addition was done in the 60s, based on information we got from Damon McQuaid last year in August, when we were reviewing his updated design. I says, I think those windows could probably wait. I says, I think that the real issue is the roof, the gutter, and some of the water damage that's taking place, with the exception of maybe the window in the addition. He says, look at the project, tell me what you think. He says, but I'm not going to present that to the select board until I've had a chance to get other people's input. And I says, that's fine. I says, but once again, I says, I think that I'm looking at how can we get moving on some of this stuff. I says, particularly the Ritter Building. I says, this work was identified in 2018. He says, we've been talking with Chris Ruth and the former town manager for quite some time, and nothing's happened. I think he didn't come out and say, he says, directly, but he basically said, there's been a lot of issues with the capital project. He says, and I'm not sure why so many of these projects haven't moved forward. He goes, my objective right now is to make sure that we lose no ARPA funding. He says, that's my number one driver. He says, not to lose any ARPA funding. ARPA money has to be committed by contract. Doesn't have to be started, but there has to be a signed contract by the 31st of December to do the work for ARPA. I said, well, from my standpoint and from my perspective, I says, I think these two projects represent your best option to get something obligated. I says, because these projects are designed. I says, there just isn't enough money to do them. And he says, well, you tell me what you think are the priorities. He says, because, we may end up having to use ARPA funds on other projects. He says, so, tell me what you think. So what I'd like for us to do is, and I'll dig out the e-file that we got from Chris Ruth last year that we used to make a decision on the CTA. And I'd like for everybody to take a look at it and decide what are the things that you see in that design we should do first, second, third, fourth. I mean, I think that you know, and I will also give you what the amount of money that was appropriated for Ritter and for Town Hall. And I know for Ritter, it was broken down into two pieces. There was a project for the handicap ramp, and I want to say that was estimated at $120,000. And I think that the exterior repairs were estimated at $127,000. So we basically have about $250,000 for these two projects combined. But I'd like for us to take a look at those and then send me your input. I want to go back to Carter, if at all possible, by Monday evening, so that he can have something to think about before he presents any kind of information to a broader group and maybe the select board. And I would also like to and I told him, I says, I will not go to the select board until you've had a chance to discuss with the broader group. I says, but I still want to make sure that, you know, that the select board understands that we have design projects here. They've been sitting here on the shelf for over 2 years and they need to move forward and the work is desperately needed. So we got to prioritize what desperation looks like, get that to Carter, and then have him present that, hopefully in uniform. We'll be in lockstep. I think we can convince Carter, these are the things that you need to prioritize and get some money to go out for bids and get that ARPA funding obligated. You know, I'm a former federal employee and the mortal sin in the world, and Bill, you understand this too. The mortal sin in federal contracting is to leave money unspent, you know? And I would not do anything, even if it meant that maybe the Ritter project doesn't move forward. I would do anything to make sure that no ARPA funds are left unspent. So I spent my entire career getting evaluated by how much money I spent, not by how much money I saved when I worked for the federal government. So any comments? Rich, let's start with you since you're kind of traveling, and then we'll ask William and Nathan if they have any comments.
It sounds good to me. I think it's a good way to go.
Okay. I'm gonna, like I said, I'll send you out the most recent set of drawings and the cost or the amount that was appropriated. And I'm gonna try and come over and just kind of walk around the building and take a look at the drawings and what I see here. It's not gonna happen tomorrow, but maybe on Saturday or Sunday, I can do that. Just to kind of take a look. And if anybody wants to do that, I would encourage you to do so. And maybe I'll decide what time I'm gonna be here and we could do that together. Be either, like I said, Saturday or Sunday, not tomorrow. William, any comments?
No, I think that's a good plan, is to break it down to something we can squeeze into this year's funding.
Yeah.
So.
Nathan?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I think, yeah, if it was really in a pinch, I would say the one project that probably doesn't require a lot of design and it's pretty straightforward would be like the end. I'm not saying, if you have other ones, go for it, but worst case scenario, the, you know, repair or removal of the chimneys on the town hall is probably like something that's, you know, pretty easy to get comparatively easy to get a contract for and whatnot.
Yeah, and it is, those are desperately needed because the brickwork on that is deteriorating even more so than what it was.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we'll proceed. Look for an email with those e-files and the appropriated funds. Any other comments about that? If not, let's go to current business. I want to bring up the date on the Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee activity. Michael Ray Jeffries called the committee meeting for this, not this past Monday, not for this past Monday, the what was that, the 7th or 8th of September. And it was kind of interesting because we have not met as a group for some time. The committee was supposed to report to time at the November meeting of 2023. And that didn't happen because of other issues. It took way too much time for the special town meeting. But what Michael was trying to get at that meeting was town buy-in to what they call the hybrid model, which focuses on building an addition here at the Ritter complex, modifying the interior of the Ritter so that school committee offices can move out of TC Passios into here. And then renovating town hall to become a meeting room. And then TC Passios would be used as surge space, you know, to move people out while remodeling was going on. And maybe to do some repairs to TC Passios. And as we've been discussing with regards to the Brooks House is, we didn't even talk about the Brooks House on Monday. But the Brooks House is kind of like the lowest priority of all the discussions that the Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee has had. And I think that will continue. So the focus is, let's hire an architect to do scoping and conceptual floor plans, some elevations, a couple of cost estimates for an addition, renovation of town hall, and maybe and interior renovations here at Ritter. The first comment that came from Matt Ellison, who left because he had a planning board meeting to go to, was that he didn't remember us talking about doing that, and he thinks it's premature. Greg Roy said that he thought it was relatively premature, but he'd kind of go along with the idea, providing we could get the money, get a decent scope of work set, and get some things moving forward with regards to the project. David Black, who's also a committee member, he said that he thought it was okay to, you know, put a proposal out to get an architect engineering firm to come in and tell us, you know, what it would cost to do those three things, give us some floor plans, give us some elevation.
So that's, the three things are convert the Ritter into space that the school can use and other office
Yeah.
uses,
Mhm.
meeting space at the town hall,
Yeah,
and no long-term plan at the Passios, but use it in the interim for, you know. Yeah.
TC Passios is like number 4 of the 3 projects. But
What's the third, I guess? So
well,
Ritter.
the first is the addition,
Okay.
interior renovation.
Okay, yeah, so there's 2 at the Ritter, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yep, okay.
Now, what's interesting is, there was, 2 people who joined the call, 2 members of the public. One was Dave Passios and another one was a woman whose last name I don't remember, but she shows up at town hall and always, or shows up at town meetings and always talks, it's very long hair. And she said, don't spend any money on TC Passios, or TC Passios School. I don't think the building deserves any attention, it's gonna fall apart. Dave Passios says, you can't do these projects without talking about TC Passios, because you need money to fix that up to do this. And he says, and I think that's, you know, that's outside the budget. So, we had some public opposition to doing anything at TC Passios, and a description of, there's no money to do work at TC Passios, so how could you move forward with these 3 projects? So we had a couple of members of the committee that were in support of pursuing the RFP. And then we lost the point. Then the meeting was over.
Quick question, so what's the, is there any realistic prospect of funding for those 3 projects?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
And in fact, one of the things that Matt Ellison said, which I believe is critical to this discussion, and one of the reasons why I think he's right, this may be premature, is that he says, hey, I thought we were gonna talk about, you know, moving forward with this stuff after the school committee makes its decisions with regards to what improvements or what they're gonna do at Turkey Hill School. You know, because there's been a lot of discussion, since Turkey Hill isn't air conditioned, there's been a lot of discussion about replacing Turkey Hill, and would you replace it with a new building? Would you put that new complex where the TC Passios is? And there were joint meetings with, the Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee and School Committee. Now, Brian, Layton is on the committee representing the schools. And he didn't say anything at our meeting Monday night. But I believe that, that's a big issue because, the town is, struggling right now with how they're gonna pay for, everyday things, let alone another capital project of this size and scope. And, we're estimating, based on just kind of gut feel from a square footage, $15 million project for the addition, these interior renos at Town Hall.
Oh, 15 million for the.
Yeah, for the trade. And I'm not sure whether that's a valid number or not, and I think that's one of the reasons why, part of the scoping effort would really tighten up that number. So, that's a really good question, like, where's the money coming from and how would we pay for this?
I mean, hey, Richard, would you mind going on mute? Yeah, I mean, if it's,
Richard, are you still there?
Yes.
Could you go on mute? We're getting background noise. All right.
If we could, I mean, it sounds like it's good to have a plan. I mean, this is something the town's cared about a while. I would think, understanding how the town would finance it would, at some point, if you can't pay for it anytime soon, you gotta just kind of put it on the shelf and wait.
Right.
But, seems like good thoughts. I mean, it makes sense. I personally, I don't think, the point about Turkey Hill and having this space at Passios to figure out what's going on there. Is there anyone, so the school committee's looking at that, or who's looking? Okay.
School committee has not really done a lot of detailed work. I think what they're looking for is, for this committee to kind of move forward with some more details about what would happen here inside, here as an addition in Town Hall.
And now we're waiting on them to decide.
Well, it is a bit of, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? I think that it's kind of like, well, get your plans, and then we'll sit down together and figure out how those plans would impact something that we, the school committee, want to do. So, the one thing that I did review the proposal, that Michael Ray Jeffries had pulled together, and I stipulated, one thing on requirements.
The proposal, that's the.
Yeah, he done a draft, and that was
Okay,
the
of the
purpose of
three
the,
project.
yeah.
Okay, got it.
yeah, he did a draft, and that was the purpose of the Monday night phone call, which we unfortunately didn't finish because we lost quorum. But the two things that I added, I says that, as part of qualifications, is that the architect engineering firm that's hired has to have experience, has to demonstrate experience with projects that involve the Secretary of Interior standards for historic preservation. And then, in the evaluation piece, I included language similar to that and said that the proposal has to demonstrate, experience with historic preservation. And the proposal has to reflect how it incorporates both the Architectural Preservation District bylaw and the Village District bylaw requirements. Because Village District bylaw requirement says you can't have a two-story building in, of a certain size, that you can have a two-story, a footprint, the footprint has to be relatively compact and not, like a mammoth 10,000 square foot.
It has a square footage
Yeah,
restriction.
it has a square footage restriction. But, there are other things too, so that was my 2 cents worth, in terms of the RFPs, to make sure that we hire someone who understands historic preservation, especially since both the Ritter exterior and Town Hall exterior are historic buildings that need the right kind of treatment. And then to say, don't forget, we have internal bylaws that affect how your work is done. So, that was, and now, we were supposed to get an email from Michael Ray establishing a new meeting night so we could finish this review. Now, this is kind of connected to the conversation we started with regards to, the ARPA funding, because the $225,000 that Michael Ray wants to use is ARPA funds. And I know from the conversation that was held at the August 20th select board meeting, is that there was some concern by other members of the select board as to whether this A&E project could be obligated by the 31st of December. You know, so if this doesn't move forward quickly, and there's not an indication that these funds can be committed by the 31st of December, then once again, that would make those dollars available to help with the Ritter project in Town Hall. So, I mean, I think that there's a reason for expressing skepticism about getting an AE selected by the 31st of December.
Yeah, that sounds, yeah.
Pretty ambitious. And, you know, of course, you're heading into the worst possible time to have meetings. You know?
Yeah, and then, right, and then you say you get it, someone accepts a contract, you pay them to do these plans, and then you can't fund it, look, it doesn't, I don't,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I think it's good that you're putting plans together, but, I don't know, when do you know, at what point can you ask the town, do you need to do this next level of design to ask the town for?
No, not with the use of ARPA funds.
No, not to pay for the planning, but to, understand, you know, have a conversation with the town manager, or whatever, to figure out like conceptually, how would a $15 million project fit into the, you
Town's
know,
budget.
to town's budget, borrowing limit and all that fun stuff.
Right. That's actually a piece, I think, for the budget task force, which is continuing to be, which coincidentally, my son's chair. And, you know, as a school committee member. I think that, and of course, their perspective is on day-to-day stuff and on, you know, things that would impact the potential, you know, another override vote in the spring. You know, they're trying to keep that from happening, but you know, that's something that may actually take place again. All right, so that's the latest on the two. If you can think of, I'll send you the RFP, and if you can think of anything else that you feel should be in there, we still have plenty, we have time to say to Michael, add this, add that. So I'll get that out to you all. Any other comments, thoughts, Richard, from you? And remember, you may have put yourself on mute.
No comment.
Okay. All right, you know, my desire to get a mailing out to all the property owners and the APD, that's gone nowhere because I can't get anybody to tell me from the town how to do that. I've sent notes to Ann Aubrey. I guess I'm gonna have to go back to her current boss, which is her. I was trying to avoid that, you know, but now I'm gonna have to do that because I've sent her a couple notes and she hasn't responded. So, but we're no further along in sending that letter out than what we were at our last meeting, which is really kind of sad because I think it would be helpful to have that done.
That was
Now,
for postage,
what?
that was to pay for the postage.
Yeah, pay for post, like I said to her, I says, you know, we have money in our budget, we would intend to use the money from the budget, can you tell me how to get the labels, can you tell me how to get the, you know, the postage procured, I mean, do I have to go to the post office and buy, you know, 350 stamps? You know, I was pretty specific as to what my requirements are, and I've gotten no response. So, no, I know she's busy, I mean, she's got a lot going on, they're not being a permanent town manager. All right, and then the last item that's on current business is the historical commission and the APDC overlap and potential for merger. I have scheduled a town council meeting to discuss that with him on the 25th of September at 1 o'clock. And any and all can join me for that meeting. It's the 25th of September at 1 p.m. And we meet over at the library with town council. And I'll tell you, I absolutely positively think that we got way too many organizations doing the same thing. And if there's a way to get this consolidated, even if we call ourselves the Historical Commission and not the Architectural Preservation District Commission, but have the responsibilities of enforcing the bylaw, I think we would be we'd be really ahead of ourselves here. You know, the issue of having people be a participant in this, I mean, we're still missing a member. And, the Historical Commission was missing members, and it's my understanding that Dave Passios, who was recently appointed to the Historical Commission, that he has now announced that he's leaving Lunenburg. So, you know, that one add to the Historical Commission is now once again a vacancy. So I think that, you know, there's not a lot of people out there that want to do this kind of stuff. And I think if we had one group that had a nice, robust membership, rather than two groups with not such nice, robust membership, we would be we would be much far better off. Okay, so that's it for current business. Preservation of the Brooks House. Nathan, have you had a chance to do any scoping on that?
Yeah, I think that more could be, so if we would like to get something on the November warrant,
Mm-hmm.
I drafted something that could definitely use some other revision. I drafted it pretty hastily, but it's a start, like we could start shopping it
Yeah.
and,
You realize the warrant's closed September 16th.
yeah, Monday.
Yeah.
So we'd have to get it, I can read it to you. if you
Yeah,
want.
absolutely.
All right, so the warrant article is to see if the town will vote to direct the Board of Selectmen to take the following actions related to the Brooks House situated at 1033 Massachusetts Avenue. Subdivide a lot of minimally compliant size for the property that includes at least 4 parking spaces as part of the property on such terms and conditions which the Board of Selectmen may determine. I think it's called the Select Board now, so I need to fix that. I copied this language from from before we updated. So, my bad there. Okay, bullet number 2. This is still under things we're directing the Select Board to do. Convey to the owners of the property and their successors and assigns a non-exclusive perpetual easement for the purpose of using existing driveway and parking lot of the town library on 1023 Massachusetts Avenue for the purpose of access, vehicular and pedestrian, to the property on such terms and conditions which the Board of Selectmen may determine or take any action relative thereto. And again, I'll choose that to Select Board. Okay, bullet number 3, convey to the owners of the property and their successors and assigns a non-exclusive perpetual easement for the purpose of using up to 8 additional parking spaces nearest to the property to accommodate customers of any business located therein from the lot of the town library on 1023 Massachusetts Avenue on such terms and conditions which the Board of Selectmen may determine or take any action relative thereto. And again, Select Board. Bullet number 4. Place the property for sale by appropriate legal means at the town's disposal. The property should be put out for auction or sale no later than October 2025 and should be continually tendered until sold on such terms and conditions which the Board of Selectmen may determine or take any action relative thereto.
I think that those are all that's all the right language, you know, that, I just don't think we could get this through the Select Board, but, you know.
I don't think, do we have to?
We did. Well, we done, but what will generally not produce, hello, Richard.
Hey, Richard.
What will generally not produce any success is for them to say, we're not gonna support this.
No, that I understand. I think what I would propose is that if we are in general agreement with this, and we can, you know, wordsmith it here if we want. Let's get this in as a placeholder. Let's then begin, not with the intent to ram it down anyone's throat. But, you know, particularly around, we can then have conversation with whatever boards, you know, Select Board, Planning Board, whoever wants to talk about it. And then if we had to amend, we can develop, through those conversations, develop amended language, which we then propose on the floor, or perhaps a result of the conversations, we decide someone convinces us this is a horrible idea, which, you know, I don't think that's gonna happen, but if they did, we could just request it to be passed over.
So you're saying, move it forward as a warrant. And then let the debate take place at town meeting.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But get it on the warrant as a placeholder, because this is just like, we just, we gotta buy our ticket now, or we're not gonna see the movie, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and then, have the conversations with the people that, the most important stakeholders, so select board for sure.
Right.
Maybe the planning board wants to talk about it, maybe the historical committee wants to talk about it. If anyone else reaches out to us and say, hey, we wanna talk about it, then we can talk about it with them, maybe the building reuse committee or one of these other, we should figure that out and meet with them and, in the meantime, it'll be on the warrant as a placeholder. Through those conversations, we could also meet with town council and have them review the wording, because I'm pretty sure it could use a lot of tuning up. And the goal of that is to just have, develop some, have conversations, hopefully develop some consensus. And if that consensus involves changing the language, have new copy prepared and reviewed by council in time for the town meeting.
My concern is if we present something by the 16th that has not been thoroughly vetted, that it's gonna go nowhere. I think that, I agree with you, you have to buy the ticket if you wanna watch the movie, and this is a way to buy the ticket. But my concern is that it may turn people off if we present a warrant that hasn't been vetted with others, like they're gonna go, we talked to planning board about this, we talked about the historical commission about this. And we won't have time to do that by 16th of September.
No, we won't, but we will have time to do it by when's, this special town meeting, when in
November, I think it's November 13th.
November 13th. So the point is, so once we get it on the warrant, because we can swap out the language at town meeting, we can have those conversations. The deadline for that is not September 16th. The deadline for those conversations is basically the town meeting.
We just add language at the start of the request, stating, allow networking and, we used to call them tiger teams.
Right.
To discuss, way means forward to the Brooks House, some possibilities could be, and then we start listing the subdivide, allow use. Cause that kind of gives us the wiggle room of like, hey, it's here, we're gonna talk about it. These are some of the ideas we wanna talk about, and then it gives us the time till November.
Yeah, that's the general idea, is like, form those teams, like, have those teams meet between now and November. But yeah, put something on the warrant that's like our best shot at it, but of course, we're not gonna go for it if the town lawyer says this is written wrong or whatever, we wanna update it. If we talk to these stakeholders and they're like, we can.
I just remember how much trouble we had with the select board trying to change, the dates on review time for the CPA. And, we went to them, we spent a lot of time drafting the language for the warrant, and then we went to them and they said, oh, that's not good enough, you gotta go back and redraft it.
Well, the good thing about the select board is they meet every week.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think worst case scenario, if we don't get where we wanna be, we pull the plug on it, we ask them to skip to skip over it, and we're a hell of a lot better prepared. It's like a little bit of a fire drill to get things moving, and then if we fail, we look at it for May, and we're just way ahead of the game for May. Yeah, I agree, this is like.
You're talking me into this, Nathan.
Like I said, you buy the ticket, it doesn't mean you have to go to the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true, you can stay home then.
I think my concern is that I just know, like, when they see this at the select board, they're gonna go, oh. So we gotta I think the key here is to say that we're looking for like a conceptual buy-in to do this stuff, like we're looking for.
Well, I think we should write the warrant as something that can be executed.
Yeah,
And when we go to them, we can say, we're looking for a we had to get, there's a deadline for the one, we're a little bit, late. This is not the latest thing that's ever, but like this, I suspect this happens quite a lot. And we're pretty under-resourced, we don't have like a lot of support staff behind us, whatever, so I think, I'm willing to, cut us some slack here. So, we wanna talk to you and meet about it. And let's just see where those conversations go, but I think as far as what we put on the warrant, it has to be like an attempt at a legitimate article, otherwise we're gonna have trouble amending it to be what we want it to
right,
be.
right. Well, we won't be able to get town council to look at it on the 16th.
Of course not. No, the point is, we don't have to get any of that. We just need something on there. We just need to claim our seat here.
Okay, all right,
And if I'm, worst case scenario, I'm wrong, and they're like, no, you can't do that, that's crap, we're not going, okay, well, we're no worse off than if we don't try.
Richard?
Sounds good to me. It doesn't hurt to go for it.
The one thing that I think is in our favor is that there's really been no real plan discussed as part of the Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee.
Yeah,
And like the focus right now is on the 3 projects. And then doing something with TC Passios that might make sense. The Brooks is way out here, this is not being discussed. So this may be, a way to preempt and say, hey, look, there's not been much, thought given by how to best use this. And this is a way to move forward and find out if there's a better way of using the property rather than just letting it sit there. Now, the other issue is that the building has structural, issues right now that, Brian has flagged, saying you can't do this, you can't do that in that building anymore.
that's fine, so let the new owner of it deal with that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, and that actually
He's probably gonna get a pretty good deal on it.
that actually supports, the notion that, hey, the town isn't gonna do this,
We can't get out of, I mean, the town doesn't,
Okay. So let's have a motion and then see if let's make a motion, Nathan, that kind of defines what we're gonna do.
Okay, so, make a motion for, make a motion is, whatever the procedure is, I'm happy to do it on behalf of the committee, or if it requires you to do it, whatever. But the motion is for our committee to submit this item to essentially takes these steps required to put the, Brooks House for sale as a, viable property on the town warrant for this November.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? Let's do it. All those in favor say aye.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
And the worst that's gonna happen is say, no, you can't do it. But at least we started. I completely agree with that. Okay, all right. Thank you, Nathan. And I,
Like you said, it's in the back of everybody's mind. Some people might just be like, we don't wanna deal with it.
yeah, let's see what happens. I mean, I think, when the housing market was just so crazy, 3-4 years ago, there was a grand and glorious opportunity to get someone to take it on. Or, a developer, there's.
It's the market's pretty insane right now.
Yeah, it still is, but it's more expensive to do stuff. I mean, yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have, a developer could have taken that house, done something with it, and made lots of money.
I think that's still the case, because I think the reality is, I mean, if the town sells it, it's not gonna be top dollar.
I would hope that it would be like the Luther Burbank house, Captain Jones house, that it was sold at a price that would attract somebody, like a couple or somebody that was looking for a house and had the time to fix it up according to the
Yeah.
standards that,
Well, I hear what you're saying, but we definitely want an owner that can get to, because it's in the village district and the primary use is not single family, like.
yeah,
the expectation is-
somebody could have a business downstairs and live upstairs.
Well, the White House across the way
Yeah.
is a perfect example of the viability of that type of project,
Mhm.
That was a house, now it's a business place.
Yeah,
So,
and the Burbank house is a house and she has a massage business in there.
That'd be a perfect location for like a coffee shop or a juice bar or something that catches all the high school kids
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
coming out.
totally.
Candy store.
Yeah,
What, a candy store?
The one question I do have for you, I made a decision to not put on this, instructing them to put a deed restriction on it. Just, I didn't wanna overcomplicate it,
No, I would agree with that.
just because it's in the APDC,
Yeah.
like, we don't, it's like, yeah, okay, so it's.
And that's like way down the road anyhow, it's part of this, like, the select board has to decide how this is gonna happen, how that's gonna happen.
Okay,
Those are discussions that could be part of that,
okay,
yeah. I mean, but conceptually, it's like, let's divest it as a part of town property and let somebody come in here and make the most of it. How's that for a point? No, Nathan, I think you did a good job of, so Ann Aubrey's looking for those. You have until like Monday to clean that up and send that to her.
yeah, no, I'll, thank you, I'll do that.
Yeah. She sent out a note, yesterday. It says, just a reminder, 16th September is the deadline for, Beck. See if I kept that. I may have, no, I have kept that.
That's Brooks House. Status is 763 Mass Ave.
Yeah,
As I think I mentioned last night, I've spoken to one of the owner slash occupants there, and he told me he was gonna reach out. I don't think he has. I actually did talk to the contractor. I was suggested for him about some business of my own anyways. And, so I'm gonna reach out to him again. I think I'm just gonna get the guy out there and see what he has to say. Talk to the owner occupant. I think he'll be open to that. That's the Methodist Church, sorry. Then we talked, what was 763 Mass Ave?
that's the, yeah.
Oh, okay. So on that, we had talked about drafting something to extend the APDC. So my understanding from Richard is that the clock is kind of stalled on the demolition.
It's ticking.
When is it? Did they submit their paperwork?
No, they haven't filed their necessary report, so.
Well, it's
And
ticking.
every day that they don't do that, it extends the demo delay on.
Okay, so that's,
So
so
nothing's ticking, it's expanding.
exactly. All right. So I think so this is what I'm, as bold as I'd like to be, I don't think we can get this one in for November. I sat down to look at it and I realized we're gonna have to work with a planning board on this.
Right.
That particular property is, I believe, also partially in the limited business district on Mass Ave there. And, I think it'll be a stronger proposal if we sit down with them and look at it for May, basically. So I think it'd be good to start those conversations though.
You're on the planning board, right?
I mean, many years ago, not
I
now.
thought you were.
Yeah, they have a new planning director.
They just hired.
They just hired him, which is great. So either whether you guys want to do it after November or in the new year, but like sometime, after town meeting, let's start that conversation.
When was the last time we talked to Brian about the 763?
A few weeks back.
And he had no status?
No,
Okay.
he said the developers get a lot of projects going in town.
He's the guy that's building those,
Yeah,
4 duplexes on
yeah,
that.
yeah, it was a historic home that's on that property.
That one's just been renovated, though. He's not gonna demolish that unless.
No,
not on retaining wall further right now.
Oh, that's right, All right.
I was getting a little nervous. They kept cutting and cutting and cutting, and I'm like, that's like 8-9 foot drop. About 8 feet off that guy's property. I'm like,
Okay. All right, anything else that needs to come before us tonight?
Don't think so.
Did you hear, our next meeting is gonna be Zoom only,
yeah, it did.
because I'll be in Seattle.
Yeah, what's the date?
It's the 10th of October.
Oh yeah, so just to wrap up on the 763 Mass Ave, do you wanna start the conversations?
With the planning board? I can do that.
And do you guys prefer starting in November after town meeting, or?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think that one of the things. I'm gonna get some input back from Adam Costa from our 25 September meeting, because I kind of see 763. And our involvement with the planning board and extending the APD, down to that area. I kind of see that as being part of this. Why don't we have a merged operation of historic preservationists? And then use the APD bylaw as a way to manage that. And that's pretty much how I'm gonna present it to Adam Costa to say, can we have, he's already said the APD can be applied townwide. That was kind of.
Yeah.
But what I wanna say is to him is to say, can we have, bits and pieces of the historical commission's rules and the APD bylaw rules merged together to create something that has, more impact. So I'm anxious to see,
oh, I see.
the other issue
It's
is
a bigger project, I mean, from just like a legal and writing,
extending the APD down to 760.
Well, that would actually, what that would by making the APD townwide, what that simplifies is, right now. We have a choice, if we were to extend the APD down to 763. I think it'd be weird, I think the planning board would be really annoyed with us if we did not also extend the village district.
Yeah.
Down to 763. Whereas. Just because, it'd be a little illogical, like, we could do it, maybe, and then if we extend the village district down there, like, that means you have, mixed use zoning on Chestnut Street, which. Wouldn't be the end of the world necessarily, but it might be weird, I don't know, it's a small residential street, like, they might be like, why, so. Where I'm going with this is, there could be some benefit in separate, just having the APD cover its historical structures everywhere, keeping the village district, where it is. So it might, just thinking out loud, it might be, based on what I was looking at recently, I think it might actually, that could make it easier. I'm not saying, it's gonna be, there's complications one way or the other. I mean, you always gotta work through those things to get anything done, right?
Right.
The tough thing about what you're doing is you're talking about, rewriting the historical, whatever bylaws govern the historical committee, which might be wired into state law. And then rewriting the whole thing with the APDC to fit into that, like, non-trivial exercise, like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, do we wanna hold up, like, if we break this into pieces, like, and do it incrementally, like, so that we can, if we make it like one spaghetti ball, it might be hard to get it done, but if we, what are the pieces that we could get done incrementally, I guess, is what I would ask. And how do we prioritize those pieces? Like, is it more important to combine this with a historical committee, or is it more important to extend the APD? Is it more important to extend the APD to 763? Is it more important to do it townwide? Now, to the extent that one's as easy as the other, it's not a trade-off, but the extent that, like,
There are two comments. One is that, the historical commission is governed by regulations that are generated by state law.
Mhm.
There isn't a historical commission bylaw in the town's charter, that's rules and regulations like there is the APD.
Mhm.
And that's my specific question to town council, is to say, tell me what the historical commission laws would allow or not allow by merging our functions together. So that's gonna be my major task or to town council.
I mean, it maybe is, just to think it out loud here, like, one scenario which might be easier to deal with, like, if we could delegate the responsibilities of the APDC to the historical, so right now, the APD bylaw forms this committee and delegates certain responsibilities and authority to them. If instead it didn't form, the APD bylaw didn't form the committee, but delegated that authority and responsibilities to the historical committee, like, I don't know if that's possible,
That's the reason why I said, we make the term Architectural Preservation District Commission may disappear. And it be the Historical Commission. The second point that I wanted to make was that we have lots of historic houses town-wide
Yeah,
that need some protection.
connection, yeah,
You know, and the only way that that protection is offered today is by like a demo delay or demolition by neglect that the historical commission identifies and notes.
yeah.
You know, we are fixated on just a small part of the historic town,
Yeah,
town assets.
no, you're right, the lawyers have said we can do it, so
Yeah.
the next question, so it looks like it's legally feasible, is it politically feasible?
Right,
I think based on some of the things you're hearing in the master planning, public meetings, I think the answer is
I think it would
quite
be.
possibly,
Yeah, I agree, so, okay, so, I'll talk to the planning board about, but I'm not gonna do that until after I've had a chance to talk to Adam Costa, so I won't have that conversation until after the 25th of September. But I do think that, we're lucky that the way the demolition delay bylaw or letter works is that he can't tear the house down, without seriously breaking the law. He could, you can do anything you want, people break the laws every day. But I think that he wouldn't do that. So we don't have, the only issue there is that the house isn't being lived in, there's probably not any maintenance being done, there's deterioration taking place. So we don't want that to last forever, we gotta get some resolution.
And there's somebody on Facebook the other day complaining about the grass.
Yeah,
So as those continue on Facebook, that brings the review of the property back up into the public's eye.
yeah.
literally, yeah.
Okay, so just to kind of summarize, I'll send you e-files for the Ritter project so we can prioritize what work needs to be done. I'll tell you how much money was set aside to do that. And then I'll talk to the planning board, about 963 and our desire to maybe extend APD, just kind of get their feel for this issue of, does the village district and on there, does the village district stay where it's at? Just see what they say. And then, Nathan, you're gonna send, this proposed town warrant to Ann Arbor. By the way,
I'll copy you on it. I don't
yeah,
know if
I just sent you, I just sent you by email Ann Arbor's, note that said, hey, warrants are due 5 o'clock, September 16th.
Okay.
I just sent that to you.
And you're gonna, so I have to submit this, just
Yeah.
one other quick, procedurally, so, we want to talk to, the committees that, like, we can talk to whoever wants to talk to us, but the ones that we need to talk to are obviously the select board. Is the historical committee gonna, commission, yeah, I think we should probably talk to them, or do you wanna set up, when's your next meeting?
October.
And then planning board.
Can you get us on the agenda?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, so I'll take the select board, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
no, go right ahead.
Do you wanna take the planning board?
I will.
And you're gonna take the historical commission?
Yeah,
Is there anyone we're forgetting? Oh, the building reuse, do you wanna take them too?
Yeah, I'll mention that to them. That was actually on my agenda to talk about at our meeting Monday night,
Yeah,
but we just didn't get to it because of the truncated meeting.
yeah.
So,
And for what it's worth, last time I drove by the Brooks house, it looked like they were missing a shingle.
it's the never ending battle, maintenance.
so the topic of discussion will be what? Ron,
The topic will be the Brooks, the warrant article to instruct the select board to take the steps necessary to sell the Brooks house.
Okay.
Good, it's definitely getting your money's worth out of that sheet of paper.
I do, yeah.
It's impressive.
Okay, anything else?
Historical commission update. The Stone Farm on Mass Ave, I believe that's the same contractor is gonna be developing that property too. He
Oh, well.
owns that.
Who is it, do you know?
I
You know who it is?
don't recall the name.
Yeah,
It's not Kevin Hill, right?
I have no idea.
No. Kevin did own Stone Farm.
Is that gonna be is he planning to demo that, you think, or?
Yeah, a demo, that went through demo delay, and that's, that's beyond it, so that's gonna be torn down, the barn.
What are they gonna put there?
House, duplexes like they're doing.
Also, that whole corner,
Yeah,
it's not a very nice corner either.
so that's that, and then, I just, dropped off the contract for the town-wide survey for Chairman Nunzio to sign. And return to Mass Historic Commission, and then it'll, once they get that, it'll go out to bid, for consultant to do the work of, documenting, 85 properties in town, all the, Cyrus Kilburn map houses that are still in existence, Marshall Park, the training ground on the Upper Common for the militia. And, I think that's it. So that'll be going forward pretty soon, with a completion date of, the middle of next year, and total completion on, I think it's September 25th. We had house was torn down in 1945 bungalow. That whose architecture, reflected the time period. The owner had a permit to put an addition on and, decided to tear the house down without a permit. It came to us for a public hearing to, see if there was going to be, a penalty, which could be 2 years, not to be able to build on that land. But the historical commission didn't have a quorum, so we couldn't vote on it, and it went back to the building department. And Brian Ingris said he thought there should be that the penalty was automatic according to the bylaw. Even though we didn't vote on it, so he was gonna consult town council, to see what was gonna happen. Because we had someone did that last year on a bungalow on Flat Hill Road, so he was concerned that this was gonna be a trend, that people were just going to and blow off the building department, historical commission, just tear houses down without consequence and say, oh, I didn't know. At our September meeting, I didn't have a quorum. There's 3 members on the commission, 2 members didn't show up. So there was no meeting in September. So the commission is in badly needing some new members.
Well, we can have one group.
Yeah,
Between the one group, I think we could have a dynamic organization,
yeah,
one that would manage preservation of more than just this little thing called APD, you know, broader, all the assets,
mhm.
all the historic assets.
Yeah, we used to have 7 members. And then we had voted to, because we couldn't get a quorum of 4 a lot of the time, that was quite a task. We voted and had approved at town meeting to have a commission of 5, with the hope of 3 seemed more reasonable to be able to get 3 people to show up, but
By the way,
not happening.
that, I'm gonna put a postscript in our notification letter to the property owners and asking for volunteers to the APD.
Oh,
So I was thinking, I was like, oh, that's something we need to add to our letter. You know, and you never can tell. Might generate some interest from somebody who says, hey, I wanna make sure they don't do things that are harmful to my property. Okay, anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All right, no, second? All right, Richard, all in favor, say aye.
I.
We'll meet again by Zoom on the 10th of October.
Maybe when we join those committees, if we can also, get a beer budget